Welcome to 20 at 10 with Nat. I'm your host, Natalie, and my special guest this morning on Saturday Morning Edition is Lisa Catile. Lisa has worked in the music industry for over a decade. She is the former owner of the Lemon Lounge, which was a super cool music spot here in town, just east of downtown, a listening room and an art gallery that shared like a wall with a bar and coffee house. And it was one of my favorite places to go. And it is no longer around, but she is no longer in Austin. She is now in West Texas and is the COO of a public radio station out there and hosts a cool show called From the Porch. I believe I met her. I don't remember what year it was, but I met her at the Lemon Lounge. And I think, actually, I'm going to bring you in for this. Please welcome Lisa Catile. Hey.
Hello. Hi.
Hi, welcome. Thanks for joining me today.
Thanks for having me. It's really fun.
Yeah. Do you remember when we met?
I think it was at Lemon Lounge.
I was just thinking about it, and I was like, I was hustling. And I think maybe I had emailed you, and I knew who you were because I had been attending events there, but I think I knocked on the door, right after hours to meet you because that's Lisa, I need to meet her because I was trying to play at places around town and having a hard time getting in places, and so I think I knocked and you unlocked the door. I introduced myself. I was so scared because I'm just shy, and gave you my business card. Anyways, and then soon after Lemon Lounge closed, but I think that's how we actually met. Is I was hustling and I made you open the door.
That's really funny. Hours. I feel like that's something I would normally remember because it's scary to be after hours and have people knocking on the door. But that's not my memory of first meeting you is at a show with a bunch of musicians that we were mutual friends with. But
was it
it's a vague. No, at the Lemon Lounge. It was
okay.
I remember meeting you with through someone else, but that's funny that I didn't put those two things together.
Was it during South by?
Oh man, that probably would be it.
In 2016, was it still open?
Yeah.
So, yeah, I had a really interesting incident there during South by. It was.
Oh no.
There was I can't remember if it was Lemon Lounge that. Maybe it was Lemon Lounge, maybe sounds from the sitting room or songs in the sitting room. Do you remember that group?
Yeah.
Hosted an event and Thomas Chorba played. It was St. Patrick's Day. Logan Garza, Taylor in the Wild Now, and it was free whiskey and St. Patrick's Day, and it was not pretty. It was a great show. But anyways, I hope you didn't meet me that night.
I think I would remember if you were whiskey drunk at a show. That I would remember. So no, it wasn't that one.
Cool. Well, I am glad that we met, and I'm sad that we didn't really get to know each other before you left town.
Same.
You seem pretty cool. I've kind of followed you on Facebook since then, and just never. I was like, oh man, I feel like we would have been friends if you were still in town.
I do too, and it's funny to hear you say that you think you're shy or that you are shy because I didn't get that impression when I met you. I just didn't have that. It's so funny when musicians are really shy because you put yourself out there in such a very vulnerable way. So Thanks for taking the chance, and I'm glad that we did meet, and now we live in a virtual world, so here we are.
I know. And it's the closest thing I have to interacting with people. And it's weird explaining to people how I could be an extrovert. I get energy from being around people, but I'm also shy. So it's I'm
right.
A quiet extrovert, I guess.
Yeah, I can relate to that.
So do you get your energy from being around people, or do you feel like you're recharged by being by yourself?
I think it's a little of both. I I really love being around people. I like connecting people. I just love the energy that comes from being around people, but it drains me. Like I feel great in the moment, but then I get home and I'm like, nobody call me. Don't show up at my house unannounced. I'm in my pajamas. I'm drinking coffee. Don't bother me. Which I think like straight up extroverts don't really need as much downtime. So maybe I've got some like little
You might be an
introversion in
outgoing
there.
introvert then.
Ooh.
If you find that you recharge from like being away from people, you regain your energy from being away from people, that would indicate you're an introvert. But
Hmm.
some of the loudest people I know or the most outgoing are also introverts, which is astounding to me. But
Yeah.
um do you I was thinking about this, well, I've been thinking about this in the time of the pandemic. Um like I have come to a place in life where like there are certain things that I have to go through to leave the house. Like I will not be seen in a certain way outside of my own home. If that makes sense. Like I had a friend invite me over for
Yeah,
Christmas.
yeah.
I had a friend invite me over for Christmas dinner, and they were like, "Just come over in your pajamas," and I was like, "Okay." And then I like didn't leave my house, and for like hours, and I was like, I think it's because I cannot allow myself to leave my house wearing pajamas. I like brought
Yeah,
pajamas
yeah.
with me in case I needed to change into pajama pants, but just like I
Right.
realized I don't feel like I have reached the like I'm not eligible to leave my house until I'm wearing real pants or real clothes.
Right.
Do you have things
Ha-
like that for you?
That's so funny. I had a pandemic breakthrough this week, which was that I wore sweatpants to the post office for the first time. Like, I always put on jeans or like leggings or something before I go out. But I went to the post office and I was in a hurry. And on my walk home, I was like, I am wearing sweatpants that I normally wear indoors
Right.
in the public space. And I live in a tiny town where everyone knows everyone. You will hear stuff about yourself before you know it about yourself. So
Ooh.
we'll see how the sweatpants went over. If I don't hear about it, then no one noticed.
I feel like I'd be good at starting rumors, not on purpose,
Yeah. Oh
about
yeah.
myself.
Yeah.
Uh, Yesterday I realized I was gonna record some videos last night. I've been working on some covers and stuff, and I realized I set up my recording station. I like have my little vocal booth in my closet,
Right.
and I set everything up. And then I was like, it's 8 p.m. and I realized I don't have makeup on. I would have to go and put makeup on right now to record this video,
Yeah.
and I don't. Yeah. So, okay.
Yeah. I'm definitely wearing more makeup right now than I usually do in my day to day, but that's mainly because we live in a pandemic world. Like when I lived in Austin and I was working 4 jobs and throwing shows and then going to shows, like going to 4, 5, 6 shows a night. I was always in makeup. I always really liked what I was wearing and felt cute. And now I'm like, Zoom. I'm going to Zoom all day.
You got to look professional. Gear up.
Yep. So it's like usually pajamas. I'm wearing actual jeans today in honor of
I am
our.
too.
Look at us.
I put on a super flashy shirt to make me feel like I'm getting out of bed early. I'm doing this really exciting
Yeah.
thing.
It's making
Um,
your eyes pop. Your eyes look great right now.
Awesome, thanks. There was a comment about volume, and I adjusted our volume a little bit. So y'all
Okay.
chime in if it's not quite there. Thanks everybody.
Oh, look at all these familiar names. Hi, Kate Howard. Hi, Angel Corsi. I only ever see your name on the internet. We haven't actually hung out. Kent, hello. Heather Miller.
Okay.
Heather's
Is
been on your show before, right?
Yeah. So if y'all will chime in real quick, does our volume sound a little more normal, like comparatively? That'd be great. And then I'll keep asking questions. Okay, I'm still
Oh,
quiet. All right,
funny. In
all right, I'll turn. Lisa, can you bump yours down just a tad?
sure.
I bumped mine up a little. If you bump yours down a little, I think we'll be good.
Let's see. Where are you, Mike? Here you are.
Michael says volume is great now, so
How does it sound now?
We'll leave it for a second. Let a couple comments come in. Okay, so
great.
We were talking about Lemon Lounge. Question I have for you is how did that come about? That was a cool space. How did it come about that you owned and operated Lemon Lounge? What, like the dream to like existing to all of that?
Yeah, I haven't talked about that in a very long time. So thank you for asking. When I was living in Austin, I was working, my first job there was working at Flipnotics. And if for all the old school Austin folks, one of my most favorite venues I've ever played in or worked at or attended a show in. And that was really like deep in my heart, that place. And when it closed, it left a big hole in the music industry. It was a room where you didn't have to be famous or huge or have a lot of connections to get a gig playing happy hour. It was a gig where everyone wanted to go there because it was a great listening room. The vibe was good. You knew that you were going to see people you wanted to see. It was just like the Cheers of like the music industry, I felt like. You know what I mean? Like I spent all my time there, and I mean, there are other really great venues that have opened and closed since then, like Strange Brew and the Owl, which was a really cool like underground space. But as soon as Flipnotics closed, and me and some of the other staff attempted to make an offer to buy it, and it didn't work out. And so I just really felt that loss and wanted to create a space where that kind of thing could happen, especially because like the open mic that I hosted there, I found so many musicians and bands that I never would have found otherwise. And I think open mics are so important to the music industry. Like it gives people a chance to be heard, to be seen, to start a band with people they never would have met otherwise. And so I wanted to create a space that did all of those things. And so we started out as the Chestnut Theater. We did a it's not GoFundMe. What's the other one? I'm forgetting. It's one of those. It was Indiegogo. We did an Indiegogo campaign, which is how we got most of the capital to get started. We had some private, small investors. It was all small investment that got us open. And I opened up inside my best friend's bicycle shop on the east side.
That's cool.
It was so fun, but the space, it like didn't end up working out. In hindsight, I should have stuck it out there and made it work. But the level of investment I would have needed to get it, like the right gear and all that stuff, was really intimidating at the time. And so I moved into this other space. And when I moved into the new space, I decided to rebrand it to Lemon Lounge and went through like a whole rebranding process.
Wait, where was the first space? Where was the bicycle shop or whatever? Like what part of the town?
The bike shop is Cycle East. It's still open and wonderful if you need wonderful bike service. Russell Pickavance, my bestest friend, is the owner of that place.
Out.
And it's also home to Flat Track Coffee, which moved into the space we were in.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's on Chavez and...
It's like a couple blocks east of 35.
Yeah.
On Cedar Chavez.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Right near Las Casuelas. So it was there. So moving wasn't a big deal. It was just like right 2 blocks over onto East 5th. But yeah, so we opened there, and we opened there in 2016 as like a pop-up thing. We were kind of renting by the night, and then we signed a lease, and we were there until 2018. And then I moved to Marfa.
All right, so Marfa, and you've been there since. That was going to be my next question, is what brought you to Marfa? Why Marfa?
Yeah. There was a process happening with the Lemon Lounge where the owner of the space basically needed to take over that side of the space to make enough money. We weren't bringing in enough to pay the exorbitant rent that was happening there. Right. So a relocation was kind of in the cards, and I was looking at spaces and talking to investors, which is like the most intimidating, scary thing I've ever done in my life. And so I was going to move Lemon Lounge to the South Side in Austin. And I went on to Marfa Public Radio's website to listen to a music show, and I saw this job being promoted. And
okay.
my boyfriend and I had been wanting to move to West Texas. It was kind of in our life plan. And I just kind of looked at him and I said, this radio station's hiring, and everything they say you need for this job seems to suit me. Like, I think I should apply. And he was really enthusiastic. And so I applied, and I got a call for an interview the next day. And then after I interviewed, I moved to Marfa 4 days later.
Wow. Oh my gosh. That's amazing.
And I had already mostly cleared the Lemon Lounge calendar. I only had 3 large shows that I had to keep with contract. One was with Thor and Friends. One was Songs for the Trees, which was like a fundraiser for tree folks. And then there was like another like singer-songwriter panel. So I just went, I got a ride to Marfa because I didn't own a car either. By the way, I'd been a commuter cyclist for like 12 years at that point.
Nice.
So I convinced a friend to drive me to Marfa.
Oh, good friend.
Yeah, and I stayed there for 2 months, just kind of getting established. And my boyfriend finished things up in Austin because he's a saint. And then he came out in July of that year. So I'm coming up on 3 years this spring in Marfa. I can't believe it.
Wow, that's amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that's so cool. Because you host a show from the porch.
Yep.
If someone is new to you because they're discovering you right now, what should they know about you in this show?
From the Porch is kind of the way I have bridged the gap between owning a music venue and working in radio. One of the things that I think is really fulfilling for me is to connect people. And whether that's an artist with an audience or an artist with another artist or a friend that I think should be best friends with someone else, that brings me a lot of joy, and I think is kind of like the basis of everything that I try to do. And so this radio show is an opportunity for me to play artists that I enjoy listening to, that are famous to me, you know?
Yeah.
And I really love getting their music out there. And I've had people out here and in the Permian Basin like message me and say like, I would have never heard that artist if I hadn't tuned into your show. So
That's cool.
yeah, and I call it
You're
from
like
the
spreading the gospel of good music.
I'm trying. And like some people are signed, but a lot of the people I play are not signed. And it's just like it's stuff I would want to hear people playing on my porch, you know, if we were having a big music jam. So
I love that. There was also a couple comments have come in that I just want to make sure you got to see.
Kent, it wasn't your fault. Don't take it personally.
Because I've tried to do similar things too. Like I hosted it was like on an Easter Sunday, and I hosted like a backyard concert because I wasn't going home that year, and had like 4 of my favorite friends and artists around town come and play like shorter sets, like 20-30 minutes or whatever.
Right.
And just because I wanted all of them to know each other, and I wanted to like have a show and have everyone come and listen to all of our music, and I love it. I love it. And house shows are like my favorite way to experience, or the porch or the couch, experience songs, you know?
Yep.
Well, you hit on something that I wanted to ask you about, that is, and so maybe you already answered it, but maybe there's more to this question. What is it about music, generally, whether it's creation, production, performance, or sharing it, as you've talked about, is the most fulfilling for you? Like, what part of it brings you the most joy? And have you already answered that, or is there more there?
I think there's more there. I've been a musician since I was a little kid, and I've been playing the piano since I was 5. That was the instrument that I've played my whole life. And I think music has such an amazing way of giving people an outlet. Like if I've been upset or happy or angry, I've always taken it out in music. And it's always how I've dealt with things. Like my mom would always joke that she could tell how my school day was by how loudly I was playing the piano. And like, was it Tori Amos or was I playing like a soundtrack from the piano? You know, it like totally... yeah, so I think that's for me, like, I think music not only does it make you feel and make you laugh and cry and feel all these things in a way that is so much more textured than just the written word, I think like also I like being able to connect with people through music in that way. Like there's certain songs I tune into, and I think we all do this, where it's like, oh, I want to cry, I'm gonna listen to
Yeah.
this song, or like I want a happy cry, or like I feel rejoiceful, or I feel angry. Like, yeah, that's the thing for me.
All right. That's awesome. So like connecting, grounding your emotions in a song that feels the same to you is like a really, I guess, cathartic and like satisfying thing,
Yeah,
maybe. Awesome.
very. Yeah.
So like when did you, so you've been playing piano for most of your life. When did you write your first song? When did you pick up ukulele?
I wrote my first song on piano when I was in high school, and it was terrible. And
I think
then,
all of our first songs are terrible. Continue.
yeah, and I was like classically trained too, so it's very rigid and like there's no
Oh,
experimenting, you know?
right.
And so in college, I started playing guitar poorly, still poorly to this day. I don't have the patience for guitar, but it's easier to transport than a piano. And so I wrote my first couple of like songs that I actually played out on guitar when I still lived in Philadelphia.
Okay.
And I picked uke up when I got to Austin. Someone gifted it to me for my birthday.
That's cool.
Yeah, and it's way easier to play. There's something about uke that's easy to me. Or maybe it's because I don't have to bridge very far. But
Joanna wants to know what your first song was about.
oh, it's embarrassing. My very first like full song that had a bridge that I played in front of people was called Austin 2006, and it was about the first time I'd driven to Austin and broken down on the way there. Um,
That's a cool idea. Why is that embarrassing?
I don't know. Maybe because then I ended up living in Austin, and I should have just been living there. When the car broke down, I should have just moved into the house it broke down in front of. Like that's Austin was calling me for a really long time, and I took way too long to get there.
I
So
mean, I feel the same about myself, but the point is you ended up here, and that's great. It's a part of your
true,
story.
true. Heather, you're right. Uke is way easier on a bike. Uh,
Yeah, for sure. That's true. Well, one thing I like to ask everyone is what is your earliest memory of loving a song or just being kind of impacted and gripped by this piece of music? And I love hearing about like as a kid, like
yeah,
just being arrested by this song. Like what does anything come to mind?
yeah. That's a great question, by the way.
Thanks.
I grew up in the Catholic Church. I'm no longer in the Catholic Church, but I was in the Catholic Church a lot when I was a little kid. And religious music is the first thing that I remember being really into.
Okay.
There was oh God, it's like some of the classics, right? Like How Great Thou Art. Like, what a
Okay.
banger. Like,
Yeah.
if you're going to talk about Christian music, How Great Thou Art is such a great song, and it's fun to sing, and it's all over the place and has a lot of dynamics. I've really, since I was a little kid, been really drawn to music with dynamics. And then Chopin's Nocturne was like my favorite thing to play on the piano since I was
Okay.
7. And I would just keep learning the more intricate versions as I got older.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah, that makes sense. Wow, I almost fell over. Yeah, that's there's yeah, there are definitely some religious songs. I also grew up in the church that it's like why can we not still write really beautiful music? There's some old hymns that are just the most beautiful. I hear them and I cannot help. I'm like, it's raining in my eyes. It's so beautiful. Amazing Grace is another
Yeah.
one. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, that's sweet. I'm gonna have to go and re-listen to Nocturne because now I'm like, I'm not imagining the melody. Um, so last question, and then we'll move on. If you could accomplish anything that you want related to music, I don't know, maybe in the next 5 years or maybe just ever, like what's a thing that you want to do? Anything, like no restrictions. Like what do you want to do if you could do anything?
I would say Lemon Lounge, but I think I've recovered from that phase in my life. I think I would want to produce. I would want to produce records.
Oh, okay.
And I think that I would also want to have like a label. I think for me, that's where the power is in music. And I think I mean, we have the internet now and like there's labels that are focused on smaller bands and stuff. But I think a label and production company that went out of their way to find new talent and to make things accessible. I think the rate at which music has become inaccessible, music making
Yeah.
for artists is really challenging. Like pressing a record shouldn't cost you like a down payment of a house, in my opinion. But also, I'm not like a record maker, so I don't know what it actually costs. But if there were no cost restrictions, that's what I would do.
Produce and or own a label. Okay, that's awesome. I've met a couple other people through the show who have similar goals, so I can connect y'all on the later.
Great.
Someone asked about your songwriting process.
Oh, is that? Oh, Michael
Michael?
Salinas. Hi. I am a slow songwriter. It takes me forever to write a song. I go through like a whole lot of like imposter syndrome of like, am I even doing this? Who cares about this? Why am I doing this? I suck. And then like that passes and then I just get into it. And I usually will just like freeform write for a while to some kind of instrumental music.
Oh, okay.
Or I will, and this is something that I learned from Johann Wagner, is to some folks in the chat who know Johann. I will pick a traditional melody and I'll just start writing to that melody and I'll just keep writing and writing and writing until I find something I like. And I also use the cut and paste method almost always now, where I just like cut up old books and move it around on the page. Like the song I'm going to play after we're done talking is a cut and paste. Almost all the songs I've written in the last 4 years are cut and paste.
That's physically on paper. You're taking a page out of a book, cutting it, and rearranging words.
Yeah, and I have like a jar. I have it right here. I have like I just started a new jar, but I cut out like, I don't know if you can see them. I cut out words
Yeah.
and phrases that are interesting to me that I might want to use later. And then I'll just kind of, if I want a writing prompt, I'll just pull it out. And
Oh, that's cool.
it's really fun. And also, even if you're not a songwriter, I think it's a fun creative practice.
It's really cool. I've only done it once or twice, but also Janet is piping in with that all writers feel imposter syndrome. And so it's something we just have to push through.
Agreed. Thanks, Janet.
Alrighty, ready for a couple of rando questions?
I'm so ready.
Have you ever fallen off a roof?
I fell onto a roof. So I haven't fallen off of a house or building, but I did when I was 7 fall out of bed onto a metal dollhouse roof and got stitches, which I still have a scar. What about you? Have you fallen off a roof?
I don't think so. I think the worst fall was from a swing set. And we had one in our backyard, and I did that thing, like, laws of physics. I figured out how to, like, you get to, like, the zenith, I think is the right word, of the height of your swing, and you kind of lift your butt out of the seat, and then you come back down, and you just go with that much more force.
Right.
You lift out of the seat, and you come back, and you go even further. And I was getting pretty much, like, over 90 degrees. No, I wouldn't have been 90 degrees. That doesn't make sense. But I got pretty high, lifted out of the seat, and somehow, let me put this down. Somehow, both hooks that were at the top unhooked, and I just like, bam, just like wind knocked out of me. Every bone in my body hurt. I thought, A, I panicked because I couldn't breathe. B, I thought I broke every bone.
Right.
As soon as I could breathe, I just started crying. my dad was over like in the yard doing some kind of yard work, and
Oh my gosh.
it was just like so like freaky. And I was fine, but I totally thought I broke all of my bones. And
You're so lucky you didn't. Oh my
I have
gosh.
no, or like land on a rock or something, or like a stick
Ugh.
poking up. Like, yeah, it could have been really bad, but
Oh my
it was
gosh.
not bad, thankfully.
Yeah.
Thanks for tuning in, Heather. She's on a lunch break. She's
I love you, Heather.
Yeah, Joanna, I don't remember falling off a roof. So maybe I did. It's just nothing's coming to mind. Like, I'm not ever on a roof. That's the thing.
Right.
If I were, it would have been like a Habitat for Humanity project, or like I climbed trees all the time as a kid, and I always would like put my foot on a roof, but I wasn't allowed on the roof.
What a rebel.
Yeah, I felt like quite a rebel. Have you ever missed a flight?
Have I ever missed a flight? Not in any dramatic way. I think the only time I've missed a flight is when my first flight was late.
Oh yeah,
Yeah. I've definitely run through an airport once or twice in my
it's
time.
so stressful. You land somewhere like, what's a crazy huge airport? Is it Atlanta maybe? Where there's like so many different terminals.
Yeah.
You like land in A, but you're flying out of E. You're like,
Yep.
I don't actually know if there's an E terminal.
Terrifying every time.
Yes, DFW is huge.
Yeah.
Okay, do you have a question for me?
I do. I was wondering if you would share with us who's like the kindest person that you've met and what makes you feel that way? What have they done that
Kindest?
made you feel that way?
Just in general in life?
No pressure. This is on the internet.
I know. Well, if I'm thinking over the course of my entire life, that's a lot of people. Well, I would say, and this might sound weird, but actually, I would say God. Like, I have the person who has been the kindest to me, even when I am not kind with myself, would be God. Like, there's, like, knowing who I am to God is, it's hard to even recognize that, like the compassion that he sees me with that I don't give myself. But then also like people that are physically walking in and out of my life day to day, probably my roommate, who's my best friend too, and she constantly reminds me of when I have imposter syndrome, like where I'll share songs with her. She's a writer, not a songwriter, but a writer, and she'll look at I've written a couple songs recently that have felt really vulnerable, or I feel kind of naked to sing them, and or like borderline, is this appropriate to sing about? And she's like, that's the truth, and like this is good, and it's like, and she'll be honest with me, which I appreciate, but she's also kind in the way that she's honest with me. So
Yeah.
that's really hard to find in people that are both honest and kind in their honesty. There's a lot of people who will yell the truth at you, but like to tell it to you, hashtag USA. Yeah, so I would say those are two that come to mind.
Cool. I had one other question for you. Is that allowed?
Yeah, go for it.
What is the thing that you're most proud of?
Ooh.
Putting on my radio hat.
I know, I'm like, I mean, I think it will be different whatever day you ask me, whatever's currently going on. I think there's a couple things, well, and it kind of has to go back to, like, I was kind of thinking back over last year, and, like, it was a year of a lot of loss for a lot of people, and, like, I mean, we're in music, so we're intimately familiar with a lot that's been lost or on pause. But I've tried really hard to change, I guess, the lens of success. Like, what did success look like last year for me? And I'm proud that, like, I think, like, from lockdown on of 2020, so, like, March through December, I think almost every day I wore makeup. Almost every day I made my bed. There may have been like 1 or 2 days where I didn't, but like for the most part, I wore more makeup last year than I did the year before. I put on real clothes. I made my bed. I hosted this show, you know, and not to brag, just like it was something I needed to do to keep myself engaged. And I knew that I could see enough of what was coming to know that it was going to be risking that I would likely be looking in the face a season of depression, you know, like, and one of the ways I can fight that is to stay engaged with people. And so I still, you know, there were things outside of my control. There were things that happened. There was, I have gone through a season of depression last year, but I think, like, I still view last year as success for myself in terms of like self, like growth and pushing forward and really keeping myself engaged. And I think
Yeah.
I wrote some really great songs last year, and they pushed me to outside of my comfort zone. I sang about things I wasn't necessarily comfortable singing about before. I let myself be inspired by other artists. I let myself really love a couple of albums and several songs and really like dig into an artist, their lyrics, how they write. And I think that it produced like it grew out of me some really great art.
Yeah, that's great.
So I would say that's what I'm most proud of right now.
I say that's a lot to be proud of. I think that's a really great thing to be proud of. It's really hard. We're living through times that people haven't lived through in over 100 years. Like, what
Yeah.
we're living through is traumatic. It is affecting everyone across the globe. And that's just the pandemic. That's not all the other stuff that's happening. So
Yeah, there's
to
been
get up and put real clothes on and to make your bed and make songs that you really are proud of and to really dig into art, I love that.
well, thanks, and thanks for asking. Those are really great questions. Bye to bye, bye to bye.
Oh, good. I was worried. I was like, I have to get a good one.
We have a couple new other people tuning in, Sean and Tom.
Hello, new people.
Thanks, Joanna. All right. Oh, I'll answer a question, and then do you have a song you'd like to play for us?
Yes.
Okay. Have I gone on a date with someone I met on Craigslist? These questions are so random sometimes. No. The closest I've come is I was on Tinder for like a month, maybe 2 months, back in like 2017, maybe. That was really stressful. I was like, this is not my jam. This is not where I want to spend a lot of time. The interactions are really stressful. But it was a thing that is interesting about Tinder is that like you're literally swiping on someone based on your first physical impression of them. Like, does that person what about their smile or whatever in their photo? Like, it's just your initial impression of someone. Do you like it or not like it? And I grew up in an environment where it's almost like attraction doesn't matter. Like, the person's look doesn't matter. It's like this
Right.
kind of belief I grew up thinking, like, when it comes to romance. And so it's like that is like the exact opposite. And so it was like an interesting like practice to just like, and it's exhausting.
Sounds
Just like
exhausting.
swipe on a bunch of people, and then all of a sudden you have messages coming in. I'm like, I can't. I don't, this is too much. I got off. Yeah. So no Craigslist, but I would say Tinder's pretty dang close. Have I ever blamed it on the dog? No, not like, homework or something, but one of our dogs really did do all the things. Like, ate the goldfish, attacked my rabbit and killed my rabbit, attacked the other dog, injured the dog. And that was the one animal that survived the longest in our house, is the one that, like, was aggressive with all the other animals. So, attacked the kittens. We had to give the kittens away. So, no, I didn't blame the dog. I mean, the dog did plenty on its own. So, we'll stop there. Yeah, my poor little rabbit.
Yeah, that's sad.
All right, well, on that lovely note, Sorry. That dog was named Princess too, so like stock.
Ah.
Um, oh yeah, we have a comment about online dating. Let's see, what is Janet saying? Online dating is like Amazon shopping and personal.
Mm.
Some friends think of it as a job. Yeah. That's kind of how I feel
Wow.
like who's got time
Yeah.
to manage all of these relationships online? Like,
Yeah.
I'm such an in-person person, like it's really hard to like. And then people, like the way that they talk to you is awkward. Sup.
Right. Yeah.
Okay.
It's like way to open the convo. I've only done online dating once, and it was at the behest of my roommate because he was like,
Yeah.
"You're depressed. You need to get over this dude. So get on uh like virtual dating or whatever." This is like back in the day, so I'm not going to say what site it was because it will age me a lot. But I made a profile and he topped my match list as my number one match. And
Your
I
ex
immediately deleted
or your roommate?
my roommate, who I met on Craigslist, by the way. I met my roommates on Craigslist. And so I deleted it and thought he would never know, but it notified him that we had matched. And he came home from work and was like, "So, you tried online dating, eh?" I was like, "No!" And we never talked about it
Oh my
again.
gosh. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that's funny. Ooh. I've when I was on Tinder, in the swiping, I came across someone I knew. Like Austin's huge, so like you're not
Right.
ever gonna come across someone you know in Tinder. But
Right.
I did, and I like took a screenshot and I like sent it to my friend, and I was like, "Oh, just saw you on Tinder," but I didn't swipe at all because I was like, that would be so weird. Um, yeah, it's been, yeah. Oh, funny story though. When I first got on Tinder on Facebook, my age, I was born in 1905. Just putting it
Ah,
out there. So you can imagine
old
how old I
soul.
am being born in 1905. But I didn't
Right.
realize Tinder pulls your age from Facebook. So at first I was matching with all these men in their 60s, which was interesting
Wow.
that a bunch of men in their 60s were on Tinder. And
Huh.
I was like, this is weird. And then I realized, oh, it's pulling my age and I have to specify like what age group I'm interested in. And it just was like, oh wow, the age that they pulled for me makes me look like a cougar with all of these men in their 60s. I just had to like realign like what's going on, what am I
Wow.
looking for? Like it was funny once I figured it out, but at first I was like, this is really weird. Why is it matching with
Yeah.
all these men
That's
matching with
so
other men?
funny.
Okay, we had a couple other comments rolling through. Hambug was asking about the Lemon Lounge. Watch back through we talk about it. It's a venue in Austin that doesn't exist anymore, but was really special. Um, what are you saying, Janet? Coffee dates will now be replaced by Zoom dates to beat out people. You know, I actually did go on a couple of digital dates this past
What was
summer.
that like?
One of them was through Instagram video chat. Um, and another was through actual Zoom, I think. And he was like, where do you want to eat? I'll send you DoorDash. And so we
Oh,
both
that's
ate from the same
cute.
plate. It was really cute. We both ate like with each other, but like Zoom. And so he sent me a meal and it was really cool. Like very inventive, I thought.
Yeah, and that's not something that probably would have happened in the before times.
Not unless two people are in like two different cities. I've heard of it happening before when I had a friend that was dating someone in another city, but okay, we definitely I want to hear your song. We keep getting distracted. I don't mind it. I definitely want to hear your song.
Right,
So,
right.
are you ready?
I am.
Okay, I'm going to mute myself and I'm going to stay here on the
Okay.
screen and chill. And
Okay.
yeah.
I'm gonna just.
You can
If
take
these
it off
fall.
if you want.
Okay. I'm gonna do that so I won't be able to hear you, but just wave emphatically if something tragic has happened.
Okay, do tell us the title though.
I will tell you the title. The title of the song is Mining Town. And I wrote this at Crooked Crow, which is a songwriting retreat out here in West Texas that Johann Wagner runs. I always like to give Johann his credit where it is due.
Sounds interesting.
It's the best, and I'm looking forward to post-pandemic times when it will happen again.
Keep me posted. I'm interested.
I definitely will.
Okay.
Okay, this is boring, but this is like a management tool. I'm going to make a note to tell you about it.
I'll just send you a private message in our private chat.
Yes. I love private chats. Okay. So, this is Mining Town, and you'll notice that in all my songs, even when I try to write something funny, everyone inevitably dies. So, just prepare yourself emotionally. Okay, here we go. Ahem. Widower's porch, earthwormed into the beams. My father's a miner, his father's a miner. Watch ditch diggers sometimes when they return to church. Church! Wouldn't be a live show without messing it up. I haven't played in front of people in over a year. Hollow and stone prove their metal by the husks of the dying and dirty roots. They're digging graves nowadays. They tend to speak in developed rhymes. They tend to speak of older times. Rough old missionaries. It's time to dig, it's time. It's time to dig, boys. It's time to dig, it's time. It's time to dig, boys. It's time to dig. It's time to say goodbye. Half-minded old men, their wives once knocked dead, casting shadows the lengths of hazy roofs. These terrible rough towns work because their children ruined, so thrown and bound, so thrown and bound. It's time to dig, it's time. It's time to dig, boys. It's time to dig, it's time. It's time to dig, boys. It's time to dig, it's time to say goodbye. Pavement that's stuck, plaster of wet and dried cement, tangle of ferns groomed and gardened. I pay good money to rent a house. I pay good money to rent a house that stands. Pay good money to rent a house that can stand on its own. It's time to dig, it's time. It's time to dig, boys. It's time to dig, it's time. It's time to dig, boys. time today. It's time to say goodbye.
Aw. Aw.
Sorry, I messed it up there in the beginning, but it wouldn't be live music without it.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing. When did you write that one?
I wrote that in 2018, in the fall of 2018.
Were you already in Marfa?
No, I was still in Austin, but I wrote it out here. I wrote it in on the border.
Okay. Cool. All right, I'm going to take my headphones off and I'm going to pull up the private chat. If there is a sound issue or something, let me know. Because I won't be able to see all of the comments. I'll just see your comments. You can moderate. Okay. I'm taking off my headphones. I decided to do this one called I Couldn't See. Wrote it back in October. And it's one of the songs that I am proud of because it dives into topics, maybe, I don't know, it's just hitting the surface of topics that I, in the past, have been afraid to talk about, so. We took a plane that summer to Seattle. We were 4 months in. I said I loved him, no, I didn't love when we were kissing. I started growing my hair out. He said he liked it long. Mondays at the Red Eye Fly, playing to an empty bar. He was in the corner waiting there to get my stuff into the car. I thought it sweet, I couldn't see there was something deeper going on. He's telling me that I'm the one. There was a night we sat in darkness in my car, and I confess I thought him safe because of faith, but was condemned and feeling stressed. He took me to a field, tried to pray it out of me in tongues. He's telling me that I'm the one. I couldn't see what I'd become. Bit by bit I lost myself in his dream, and somehow I still feared he was my last opportunity. He's telling me that I'm the one. I couldn't see what I'd become. Sometimes I wake up from a dream and think about our time, how he was the worst thing and the best thing for me in my life. I had to feel the flames of the fire to find the will to run.
That was beautiful. That was beautiful, Natalie. Oh man, that line, tried to pray it out of me
Yeah.
in tongues. That line is so good. Wow.
Thanks.
Love it.
That was the one that was weird to write. I felt like it was one of the harder ones to write. That was a thing that happened.
Yeah.
You know?
Right.
And it's even like it's a cool line by itself, but like if you're actually writing something that's true, also that's weird, and it's just kind of weird to talk about, you know?
Yeah.
So thanks, Michael and Nick.
Oh, hi, Bob Sokol. I miss you. Austin, we're going to have a big old party when this pandemic is over. I'm coming back to visit.
Gosh, yeah.
I miss y'all a whole lot.
Jack's here.
Hi, Jack.
A lot of other friends. Thanks, everyone, for tuning in. And thank you, Lisa, for hanging out with me on a Saturday morning.
Yeah, thanks for asking me. It's really fun to get back into it and to do things. I've been so sequestered and alone for so long that, I mean, my partner's here, but I haven't, gotten to hear or play music with anyone in a really long time. And so it was really meaningful that you asked. Thanks for letting me do it.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's cool that you were willing to jump in this month. I guess I need to put an actual post out about it, but this month is all women on the show, which is super great. Janet's tuning in. She was my guest last week, and trying to think who else is here. So it's just been like a really cool. I did it kind of like I started to get several women. I was like, let's just make January all the ladies. Like,
yeah,
there's I got plenty of men on the show too, but I want to be there for the ladies too. So
yeah,
it's been good. So thanks for jumping in the mix and being one of the ladies in January.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah. Thanks, Janet. Let's see here. What do you say?
Oh, Hambug is asking what my favorite book is on this.
Yes, that's a great question.
Oh, man. It's definitely Just Kids by Patti Smith. I think everyone should have to read it.
Awesome. Okay. Well, thank you again for all of your time. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in. If you enjoyed the conversation, it would mean a lot if you shared this wherever you're watching from. Share it on your YouTube page or on your Facebook page, and get the word out. I think I bring all my guests on because I think they're great, and I'd love to get the conversations out there. Just trying to create a little bit of goodness in the world. So
yeah,
a good space where we talk about things we love and create like a positive conversation. So yeah, I hope all of you have a really great Saturday, and we'll catch you on the next show. I have a guest Monday night, Emily Shirley. We'll be on Instagram Live though, so if you got Instagram, tune in on Instagram that night. Thanks everyone. Lisa, just hang out with me for a second. I'm gonna go ahead and end the live. And is there a website that you want me to share with everyone before we go? Drop it in the chat.
I don't.
Okay.
But I do.
Thanks, Jack.
I have an Instagram that is typically private, but I made it public for this.
Okay.
And then also, this is kind of dumb, but my chickens have a Instagram account. They're Marfa Famous, so I just dropped the Instagram handles for both of those. Feel free to holler. For quality chicken content.
Them to everyone. So yeah, feel free to please follow Lisa or the chickens on on Instagram. I dropped it wherever you're watching. I dropped it in the comments. So
great.
All right, thanks everyone for tuning in. We'll see you next time.
Bye everyone.